Hello, so today I would like to do something fun. It's Friday and it's something I've been discussing with my manager, Rong. She told me that Blender, that you can see currently on my screen, got now a MCP exposed. And I was like, I need to do something with that because, I'm a huge lover of 3D. So I was thinking like, how can I use that? So I'm going to show you how to quickly experiment MCP, whatever MCP could be. In this case, going to be Blender, and how to prototype that quickly using AI Toolkit, and then how to use then the Microsoft 365 Agent Toolkit this time to reference this MCP and make it available inside M365 Copilot. So to be able to drive this Blender, we need to go and find the MCP. So I'm going to type Blender MCP, and I will go on this page, which is the documentation, and it's going to explain that to get started, you need to do a bunch of stuff. So let's go directly to download first. The MCP itself. So say that you need Blender, of course, which I already installed, Python. To install UV, so you can either do that on Mac or Windows. So I did this PowerShell installation on my machine because I'm currently on Windows. And then you need to download the add-on. So let's download the add-on, which is there. And then you need to go inside Blender, in the preferences. You need to go inside the add-ons, to click there, install from disk, to go inside the downloads, open it. And you see now it's available, and if you're looking for it, it's right there, Blender MCP, and then you can enable it. So what are we going to do is to use the free assets from Polyhaven. I'm not going to use Sketchfab or Hyper 3D, and I'm going to enable the endpoint in a way in Blender. So now that I've got kind of this MCP running, I need to continue reading the doc, which says that, okay, you need to configure the MCP server. So this is something VS Code and GitHub Copilot is supporting for a long time, but we're going to do that with AI Toolkit. If you don't know what AI Toolkit is, it's a VS Code extension that helps you to pick some models, either, coming from your local machine. It could be hosted on your local machine using Foundry Local, or it can use Olama. And also you can pick model coming from Foundry, and you see that I've deployed a bunch of models. GPT's models in this case, but I also have kind of a model running locally on my machine. And now let's imagine you like to implement a small agent testing this MCP. You go inside tools. You see that for now I've got a bunch of unique MCP available, which is a Microsoft doc. And I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to go in manual mode, edit the JSON, and I'm just going to copy paste the Blender MCP. Here it is. And once I did that, I can close, refresh. I've got the Blender MCP available, and I'm going to start it to see if it works well. So it's going to try to start the MCP server, the local one. If I'm looking to that, you see that I've got many tools available, so it seems to work well. So now the next step is to connect that to an agent. So we're going to build a small agent. You have the builder, which is there. So we're going to call it Blender Local MCP. This is where you can pick a model. So as I would like to be close to Microsoft 365 Copilot, I'm probably going to pick a model that is, similar. So I could use, for instance, GPT-5 available via GitHub models, or let's use like GPT 4.1 from my Foundry subscription. So I'm going to pick that one. And then you need to give instructions. So I already pre-built the instruction. That is really simple. I'm going to say that you are an agent helping me to create 3D scenes in Blender. And when asked to share the result, please return the image of the viewport. You see that the MCP is already being referenced. So now what I can do, I'm going to split screen and pick Blender. You see that the server is running. I can now ask a question to my, to my agent. I'm going to give it more space there. And reduce a little bit the font. So I'm going to ask, for instance, create a sphere made out of 32 cubes, for instance, using the color of the rainbow palette. So it should understand that it needs to pick my Blender tool, you see, that is going to execute Blender code and is going to send instruction to Blender. And here it is, you see that now, using my small local agent built with AI Toolkit, I can in a couple of seconds be able to test Blender MCP, but you now understand that any MCP you may be interested into, you can quickly prototype something. Okay, now that you see that this is working fine, the next step is how to transform this local MCP into something I can call from a public endpoint, because of course it only runs on my machine for now. So I can ask, question to maybe Copilot for that. So let's use, yes, Opus. And what I can say is like, I currently have a local MCP defined using this. So what was the configuration part? It was this one. And I can ask, how can I, wrap that into a remote MCP server? So I would like to find kind of an easy way to do that. I know some potential solution, but I would be curious about, what Copilot is going to suggest me. I can see thinking about mcp-proxy, which I think is a good idea. There is also super gateway that I didn't know. It's using maybe Node.js in this case. And so he says, he shared about, okay, super gateway. And can you suggest something else based on Python, for instance, if I don't want to use Node.js. So mcp-proxy, okay, and you see the way to use it. So it's going to help you to say, like, if you like to map it, your current MCP server, use this command line. So in my case, I don't want to use a SSE. I would like to use a streamable endpoint. So I already have mcp-proxy installed. And I never remember about the various parameters, of course. So you see, what I'm interested to is this streamable endpoint. So I'm just going to copy-paste this one and add transport streamable HTTP. I think it should be enough. Let's have a look. So what it should do is to take my local, MCP that I've been installing for Blender, and you see that now it runs on this specific endpoint. So now if I'm going back into AI Toolkit, and let's imagine I would like to create a new MCP server using an HTTP route. If I'm doing /mcp on top of it, you see that it seems to work, and I'm going to call it Blender remote local in a way, because I'm still on localhost. And let's see if you can start it. And it's still able to use it. So now I've been able to wrap my, local MCP to something that I can call remotely. Of course, the last part is now to expose that to a public endpoint. So this time I'm going to use, so I need to pay attention to the port, which is this one. This time I'm going to create a new terminal and use the devtunnel. So the devtunnel is a way to expose my localhost to a public endpoint like ngrok, if you know ngrok. So I'm going to say that I would like to host the port that was created by the MCP proxy and enable anonymous access. I know this is not good, but this is for my demo. So now let's have a look to what's going on. So it should be able to wrap that. You see that you have a specific URL to be able to inspect the tunnel itself. So it's a great way to have kind of a network trace, if you like to. So you see that for now, nothing has been called. And now I've got this public URL over there that I should be able to use to create my declarative agent in M365 that will call my MCP. So it's really a prototype, but I will give you what we need to do at the end to do something more robust. Now I need to switch to Microsoft 365 Agent Toolkit. This is another toolkit I've been working on in the past that helps you to extend what Microsoft 365 Copilot can do. So either using Pro code, you can use your own code with your own orchestrator and build what we call a custom agent, or you can create a declarative agent which is going to use the Microsoft 365 LLM and orchestration. So this is what I like to do, like to build a simple agent. And for that, I'm going to create a declarative agent. I'm going to add an action. An action is kind of a tool, if you like to, and I'm going to start with an MCP server. It's going to ask me for the URL, so now I've got this public URL that I should be able to call, where I like to create it, and what should be the name of my app. I'm going to call it Blender Agent, and then it's going to scaffold a full new project. And now the next steps. So you see that this VS Code part got an mcp.json file. Is going to give you some advices. If you like to create your declarative agent with the right action, you need to start it before. So let's start it. Now it runs, and now you can fetch the tools and pick the one you like to use. So it's going to ask you in which JSON file you like to do that. So this is the default one you should use. And now it's up to you to pick the exact function you like to call. So I don't need all of them. So I'm going to pick execute Blender code, maybe object info, polyhaven if you like to use polyhaven, get scene info, sketchfab and do not want to use it, the viewport to do some screenshots, and that should be pretty much it. Set texture, why not? And yes, and I'm going to click OK, and you see it's going to automatically scaffold the specific JSON file for Microsoft 365 Copilot. There is a unique thing you need to do. We have a small bug in our toolkit for now. You need to add X- in front of MCP tool description, something we will fix soon. But just to prevent to have this error, I know that we will have an error if I'm doing that right now. And the last part, as we were configuring, the agent with AI Toolkit, you need to provide some instructions. So I'm going to provide instruction. Maybe I can even be more specific. I can say using, for instance, the right tool. So the right tool, at the end was get viewport screenshot that I'm going to fill it. And I know that in the get viewport screenshot, if I'm looking for it over there, I can see the argument which are the max size and the user prompt. So what I'm going to say is like to fill the user prompt and fill the user prompt property with the current prompt used. Like take the prompt from send to Copilot and inject that into this function. So this is something I know will probably help him. And then you have a manifest. So the manifest is really the way to silo that into Microsoft 365. And you see that you have kind of a description icon, so you can really customize it. And there is something else interesting that is like you have conversation starter. So for instance, what you can do is to create a small 3D scene for me. And let's pick the prompt that I already forgot. I was using my agent builder. What was it? It was create a sphere. Okay, using the rainbow. I even did a small typo that I can fix. Using the rainbow palette. And maybe we can switch it. I can say like create, I don't know, cylinder this time. To take some risk, try to show you that I'm going to do something else using Copilot. Okay, I think we should be good to go. So in summary, we have configured the MCP to start the MCP server, fetch the various available actions that we've been injecting into the specific JSON file being used by the orchestrator of M365 Copilot. We have also fine-tuned a little bit the instruction to explain how the agent should behave, a conversation starter, and we haven't touched the default manifest because I don't have time for that. So now let's go to Microsoft 365. You need to click provision. Provision is going to package to create a specific app ID because your app needs to get a specific ID and potential identity. Call the various APIs to make it available to Microsoft 365 Copilot. And if it goes up to the end without errors, it should make it available in Microsoft 365 Copilot. So you see, it managed to work well. So now what we need to do, let's start from scratch. So let's create a new scene. Let's restart the MCP server. Maybe let's use the this one, but I'm not sure we will have time to use it. Okay, now it runs well. I'm going to put that on the right and take this page. So you see that my devtunnel was called, was able to see the traffic. The traffic is probably, the payload was asking for the various tools available. So you see that you may check what's going on also on the devtunnel. And now I am inside the Microsoft 365 Copilot. And you will have a new agent. So this one, Blender agent, that should have my starter prompt. So I'm going to use it. So you see that create 10 cubes. Oh, not the right one. So let's check if I don't have another one. Yes, this one is the right one. You see, so I just forgot to uninstall a previous test I did. So create a cylinder made out of 32 cubes. So this is the one I'm currently, I've just built from scratch. And let's run it. So it should understand that it's got some tools available for that. It should understand that cylinder means that it needs to do something in Blender. So it understood that it needs to design something in Blender. And it should then try to call the tool, the MCP tool, that will go through my dev proxy to my local MCP proxy and call Blender. So he asks you, do you agree to call this remote MCP? So let's click confirm. And if it works well, it should execute code into my Blender instance on my machine. And this is the result. I wasn't expecting that, but this is what he wanted to do. He's even trying to create a screenshot of that, but this is not what I wanted. So this was a risk of changing that. So maybe like let's do now something like I started at the beginning. Create a sphere made of 32 cubes. Let's stop the agent and let's try it again. So we should have a different behavior, but it was to show you that I wasn't reusing the previous agent. It's really a new one. So now it's going to do something different, and we should have a similar result as just before. I don't know if we can consider that this is a cylinder. Why not? But like you see that this approach helps you to think about how to use first MCP in a general way. I've decided to use Blender because it's very visual, so you quickly understand what's going on. But also, let's imagine we like to go further than that. Of course, I cannot expose, so well, it decided to put like all the cube there. You cannot expose Blender on your machine. So it means that you would need to put Blender maybe in headless mode into a container. So this is something that could be interesting. Put that maybe in the new hosted agent service of Foundry and be able to expose that, inside Copilot M365 or any other agent that we could call MCP or agent to agent, and maybe using AI to create kind of 3D content using either document coming from M365. You could have people, marketing people that could design the product they would love to have, and they would ask to the AI, okay, can you create me a 3D version of that visual and send me back some screenshots, and then even can you give me back the model, as the GLTF or whatever format you may support, to then load that into a 3D tool. So it was pretty fun to see, how fast using the current tools you could call MCP, and it was fun to see Blender being called by M365 Copilot. Feel free to check the links I'm sharing in this post to see how you can do that yourself at home. And feel free to also to provide any feedback about what you may think about this demo. Thank you and see you soon.